So, welcome to the first episode of the podcast and YouTube channel AI Hype or Revolution. And today we will exactly look into this question. We will try to answer the question if artificial intelligence is hype or revolution. So, and usually I start with the explanation that we live in the VUCA world. So VUCA stands for volatility. It's the V, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. That means that, for example, depending on all the information that you have, you cannot decide exactly due to this ambiguity, which is, for example, the right choice. And this is driven by three factors. The first factor is, for example, that we have a change in the customer demands. So in the past, for example, people wanted to have in the automotive industry, I take the automotive industry as an example, they wanted to have the perfectly assembled car. And today, the people do not want to have the perfectly assembled car. They tolerate, for example, issues in terms of the production, so minimal issues. And what they really want to have is they want to have more or less a smartphone on four wheels. They want to have digital services integrated. They want to have autonomous driving. They want to have connectivity. They want, for example, to have an electric car, or they want to share the car with others, right? They do not want to have one car per person in the family. They are willing to share. They are willing to drive autonomously to get the time back, for example, that they can read the newspaper, things like that. And this is termed in the automotive industry as the case or the ACES scenario. So that stands for connectivity, autonomous driving, shared mobility, and, for example, electric cars. So the next driver, in addition to this change of customer demands, is all the crises that we currently have. So it started with the corona pandemics. Then we had the energy crisis. We have all the wars going on, which are even increasing. And for example, we also had the semiconductor crisis, so that the manufacturers could not really rely on the supply chain. In the last year, there were, for example, in the car industry also issues with the gearboxes. So if there are floodings in the world and the suppliers have their plants there, there are always issues. And so since the amount of water which is in the air increases to the increase of the temperature, there will be more and more floodings in the world in the future. So the crisis increases. But the last driver, it's the exponential development. And in my opinion, this is the biggest driver, for example, for this VUCA world. And it all started with GPT, for example, GPT-3. I still remember when a professor from the University of Hanover sent me the link to GPT, and I was sitting on the sofa. My wife put our daughter to bed, and I connected this API, right? It was just 10 lines of PHP code. I couldn't believe how easy it was. And then I fed into this GPT a conversation between a coach and a coachee of my platform, of my food planner platform, which is a food journaling app. And the output was incredible. I could not believe, for example, how good the output was, which was generated by GPT, which was an answer according to the previous conversation the coach and the coachee had. And then I had a hackathon. I still worked there at Volkswagen, and with my team we did a hackathon. And I read a research paper during this hackathon with my senior data scientist. And we read the paper, and then we checked if there is, for example, an API for Delhi. And there was no API, and I thought, okay, it's amazing to generate, for example, pictures from text. But I thought it would take probably years, or at least several months, until this would be released, right? Because they needed a lot of training data. And then 3 months later, it was released, and I could not believe it. That was the first time when I had issues really to sleep good during night, because I wake up and I could not believe, for example, how fast currently the progress in artificial intelligence was. And one example I want to give, because people usually ask, for example, what is a factor of the output for our world in terms of artificial intelligence. And there is one game, it's called No Man's Sky. And usually, for example, a creative designer needs 3 to 4 years to design such a world. And what they did in this game is they fed into an algorithm, a neural network, old words, and then they auto-generated new words. And the output was not in 3 to 4 years, one generated word or one designed word, which is usually the output of a creative designer. It was 18 10 up to 18, so 18 quintillions of planets. And this is, in my opinion, a good example to show that the productivity is not a factor of 100 or 1000. It can be billions of billions, right? A quintillion. And the last very important factor are the autoencoder networks. It's a very important part, for example, of the GPT technology. It's very simple. Autoencoding means you have data. It's the identity function from a mathematical perspective. You feed in data, you make a compression, and then you decompress it. And the output is the same as the input. And then you could think it's crazy. Why do you do it? But the big advantage, or what you get out of it, is that, for example, by compressing the data, you really make some kind of very important feature detection. So what are the most important features of the data? Being able to decompress it again. And for example, if you now see that there is this big ball and this small ball, and I just feed in the data, now I'm able to generate any kind of variation of this big and small ball, right? So you get an infinite number of new creations which you're able to generate now out of these autoencoder networks. So, and now to answer the question, is artificial intelligence hype or revolution? I want to give you an example. So it's the stadium example. I usually give this in my talk. When I start the talks, I say, for example, to dramatize that, I say there is no guarantee that even big Fortune 500 companies will survive the next 5 to 10 years if they not embrace artificial intelligence. And this is the example. So you imagine you sit in a stadium and you sit in the nosebleed section, right? So in the highest row. And the question is, you have a magic pipette, and this pipette, there are leaving drops. So every second there leaves a drop, and it doubles every second. So after 1 second, it's one little tiny drop, then it's 2 drops, then it's 4 drops, then it's 8 drops, 16 drops. So it increases, it doubles. And the question is, how much time will it take until the entire stadium will be filled up to the brim with water? And the people are clever. The audience usually answers, it's exponential development. I know it from this chess example, right? From the philosopher who wanted to have the number of rice corns on a chess field, right? As some kind of from the king. And they say it's pretty fast. And I say, but how fast is it? Is it weeks? Is it months? Is it years? Is it even faster? And they say probably days or hours. Or sometimes people say minutes. And the answer is it's 49 seconds. And when I say this, the people cannot believe it. And now just imagine it's 49 seconds. And the incredible thing, I think it's even crazier, is that after 45 seconds, there would just be some water on the ground. And 4 seconds after this, you would be drowning in water. And now, depending on the thing that Moore's law was true for the last 6 years, which could correlate to the first 45 seconds, it's possible that, for example, the next 5 to 10 years are this 4 seconds from 45 to 49, which could be the essential driver that will be drowning in processing capacity over the next 5 to 10 years. And this is the reason why I strongly believe in the thing that artificial intelligence will change our world. And this is why I quit at Volkswagen, because I want to be at the top of the AI wave for the next 5 to 10 years. So I hope you enjoyed the first episode, and see you next week.